Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is the Global Reality Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. This is the Wednesday, March 16th, going now into many parts of the world where you are right now. Thursday, March the 17th, St. Patty's Day. 2011. Glad you could be with us here tonight for another show. And we're going to be, of course, we all know, we don't even have to even say it, but we all are quite aware of what the current news cycle is focusing around. So we have a few stories here tonight, and we'll be getting we'll be getting into some of those. But there isn't a whole lot of news tonight, so we're gonna go through that, and then we're going to also continue reading tonight. We had last night was a great show. So far, I don't know, just over the past several weeks, all the shows have been great. I thought the show's been really enjoyable for me, the content anyway, what we've been talking about. And so last night, the show was great last night, and there was, we were reading from William Bramley's The Gods of Eden. We will continue that tonight. And where we left off last night was quite a nice segue, because we left off really starting to get into something I've been covering here on the show for, well, pretty much the whole time I've been on air. At least 3 to 4 years I've been on air. I've been covering this. So it leaves off in a good spot where tonight we're going to be getting into the Brotherhood of the Snake, the Brotherhood of the Serpent. Chapter 5, which is very, very interesting information. So if you haven't been following our series of reading here, go back and hit the archives up. We started this last week, so you should be able to catch up pretty quickly right now. And again, I think hopefully at the end of this, somebody will probably collect all these into one thing, so you'll be able to listen to it. But it's an enjoyable read, and I've really enjoyed reading here on air with you. So we'll continue from that tonight as well. You can also email in questions if you've got comments, things you'd like to hear me address or get into. Like I said, I always say I can never always tell what every single person's hot button issue is going to be, and what yours is going to be quite different sometimes than what mine may be. So if you'd like to give me a hint at maybe some of the things you'd like to talk about or hear me talk about, globalrealityshow@gmail.com. That's globalrealityshow@gmail.com. You can send in your comments and everything over there, and I will do my best to get to them on the air for you here this evening on the show. I'm kind of sitting here looking at the stack, actually, as I'm talking to you. I'm trying to see if there's anything in particular I wanted to address. Oh, I was going to say this. There's an interesting video that I found that was last night. I was mentioning just how many videos there are now on YouTube when you put my name into it. It's amazing how many there are there. And lo and behold, I came across this video. It's now had, I don't know, 20,000, 21,000 hits. It's a huge, it hadn't been posted that long because the content in it wasn't done that long ago. But, I was just sitting there thinking, my God, 21,000 views. Some of my movies haven't gotten that many views, and here's this clip of me from the show talking about the supermoon used in this video this person made. It's quite nice. And I was just blown away by that. You know, it's amazing. That's exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about, because, I mean, there's this person making this video who obviously has, you know, an audience. They've got, you know, 20,000 views on a video that quick, any video, you know, obviously this person has an audience. So this person who obviously has an audience, who also said that he's a fan of the show, which is great. Thank you very much. I'm a fan of yours as well, sir. And you know, used something from our show here. And now that's reached, you know, 20,000 more people. So my hat's off to you, my friend. Thank you. That's you know, that's the whole thing, man. If we just do that, that hurts them. That's big time, you know, because that's not anybody following the leader. That's not anybody fucking, you know, buying into some bullshit paradigm. That's just motherfuckers doing shit that needs to be done. You know, that's the kind of stuff I'm into right there. That's what I dig. That's what I like. That's what gets me off. You know what I mean? I mean, that's it. You know, that's really cool. I mean, I don't know. I just have to say that when somebody can reach more people with their videos than I reach with mine, and I've been doing this for 4 years, and they put a clip of ours in there, you know, it's just a boon for us, you know, because that's going to reach a lot more people that are going to come and find the radio show and are going to come and find our films and find what we're trying to do over here. And then that's going to spread. And that's great. You know, it's really cool. So thank you to that person for doing that. Let's see what we have here. I'm trying to see if we've got any more things that I needed to. I don't really see any more questions. But anyway, globalrealityshow@gmail.com is where you can send those over at. I had a story here I wanted to start out with tonight. I found this interesting that this came out last week, just a day or two before the earthquake happened in Japan. And by the way, as you probably noticed, and as you probably don't need me to tell you, the propaganda and the lies and the fear mongering, and not only the fear mongering, but just absolute obfuscation. It's just mind blowing. I mean, they are really sending people in a tailspin on this thing. And the amount of media subterfuge that is going on right now on all sides of the media, and independent media and in alternative media, mainstream media as well, it is an absolute circus. It is. And that's why I've got, you know, you heard me kind of straying away from some of this and not really getting into it and not spending a whole hell of a lot of time on the broadcast talking about it. And again, you know, not because I don't feel it's important or anything else, but sometimes I like to kind of sit back and be a spectator rather than someone who is actively involved in the conversation because of his or her point of view. You understand what I mean? So in this case, it's unbelievable. There is so much subterfuge going on in trying to get people so confused and so just, you know, bonkers, not knowing what's real and what isn't, and, you know, is it a threat? Is it not a threat? Or, you know, are these people over here hyping this? Is the media hyping it, saying it's a threat and it's not? Is the Japanese government lying and mitigating the threat? I think that they're. Let me look here. It's well, I think I had an article here. Let me go through this. It says I can't find it now, but I swear there was an article out today that said something about you know, the Japanese basically lying about the threat. You know, saying it's not a threat when it is. I don't know. So my point is that you can't really understand what it is you're supposed to believe and not believe. And this is all by design, folks. Don't get caught up in it. Okay, don't get caught up in any of it. Stay centered. Do not allow yourself to be swung like the pendulum back and forth, left to right, pulled back between this over here. Oh, is this true or is this isn't true? That's what they want you to do. Because when you're that way, you are not what? You are not centered. And when you're not centered, they can knock you off your balance and take advantage of you. And this is exactly what they're trying to do right now. So again, as I've said all week, don't listen to me. Don't listen to fucking Dan Rather. Don't listen to, you know, whoever. Alex Jones. Don't just, you know, Go with what your instinct and your intuition tells you to do. Don't listen to anybody else about this, because this is one of those type of decisions in life that eventually we're all going to have to start making for ourselves. And the opinions of the mainstream media or the government or the intelligentsia or of alternative media is not going to matter in all cases. It's going to come down eventually to a decision that no one else can make for you but yourself. And every single one of us living on this planet right now are probably going to have to come to grips with that if we live to see it. So, I wanted to point out that just a few days before this all broke out, I saw this story, and of course I didn't cover it because I was talking about this other stuff. The earthquake had just started popping off. I saw them try to run this last week, and it seems that this has gotten swept under the rug in light of the earthquake. But it seems to me, had this story come out just a few months ago or a few weeks ago, this might have been quite a big thing that would have been used for fear-mongering, because it does sort of reek to me. It's ABC News, and the title of it and the content of it does sort of reek to me of propaganda. But I mean, hell, it all does at this point, doesn't it? So, I don't know. I just think that it had this come out a couple weeks ago it would be all over the place. And it seems that it kind of got swept under the rug, and whether it's propaganda, whether it isn't. But let's read it and talk about the implications here. This was published last week, March 9th, ABC News. North Korea nears completion of electromagnetic pulse bomb. That's very interesting, don't you think? And sort of my first reaction when I saw this was, oh, well, you know, the idea of them getting ready to stage another world war to reset the economy could very well be a plausible idea for these people at this point. And then, boom, within like a day of finding this article, we have the earthquake in Japan there, and it's given them, you know, pretty damn close to the impact that a war sparking off would have. If you look at it economically from the standpoint of the entire disaster economy that it's going to create and provide. I mean, the figures already, you know, staggering, hundreds of billions, 180 billion, 300 billion. I don't know what they're up to now, damage estimates. There's no telling. All a part of the disaster economy and all a part of the continuation of their system and their continuation of being able to bring about the world order by continuing their enslavement system through the monetary system, through religion, and really through brainwashing and propaganda. As we've been reading from William Bramley's Gods of Eden, that's become one of the key points we kind of talked about the last couple of nights, especially last night. And I believe it's 100% true. This has gone on for a very long time. Their whole system is designed about keeping us in ignorance about everything. And the only reason that their system even continues to flourish is because we continue to remain in ignorance about the things that they're not telling us. And that's it. I mean, I that's one of the best ways. I've never been able to find a way to really sum all of this stuff up and really the importance of it, what it means to me. That's it. So, I just wonder about this. I wonder, were they getting ready to launch this war thing, and then boom, they get this, they find out there's an earthquake, and maybe possibly they use force multiplication technology to enhance it and make it worse, and just possibly maybe they blew up the reactors. Who knows? We know they've been pushing for worldwide nuclear disarmament, and that's been a key thing. Of those of you who follow the news hounds like myself, can back me up on this. How many stories, guys, gals, have we seen since Obama has been in office in 2008 about, nuclear? Didn't they just sign a nuclear disarmament treaty with Russia or something a few months ago? This has been a major talking point. And if you've ever watched any of the documentaries that have been made on space-based weapons and space wars and things of that nature, you start to understand that the worldwide nuclear disarmament strategy is the key to them being able to overtake worldwide military supremacy by the use of space-based orbital weapon systems. And so again, like I said, whether they created this thing, whether they didn't, whether it was natural, whatever else, it's of no consequence. They've used this to further their agenda, folks, and we can prove exactly how they've done it. In this space-based weapons thing, I'm telling you, this nuclear reactor thing is what they're going to do to go about worldwide nuclear disarmament. And then anybody after that wants any sort of nuclear power for either, friendly intentions like Iran claims they want, or anything else will be seen as someone who would be not only a terrorist to countries, but also an ecological terrorist. That's what this Japan event signifies, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you understand this. This is what it signifies. It signifies them now being able to have what they need to prove to the world that we have to do away with all things nuclear. And then space-based weapon supremacy comes in, where they can reach anybody anywhere on Earth before they could ever get a missile off the ground anyway. And this will be open. It'll be the planetary defense system. Probably won't be too long till they're going to be telling us they're going to be using it for not only protecting, targets on the ground, but also against targets that might be coming into Earth. I bet they're going to roll this out as a double package. That's what I believe. I believe they're going to roll out the alien thing real soon. Probably going to roll it out as a double package. It'll probably be coming, over the coming months, and maybe this year, maybe next year, maybe the year after that, who knows? But that's why this whole Japanese event is significant, for that reason alone, because it signifies 100% that this plan that a lot of people have talked about and have known about for a great many years now for their plan of space-based weapons. I mean, hell, you look at Defense Department budget spending, you look at any of the financial records, DOD defense spending budgets. We're talking about publicly available information. I started looking this up 3-4 years ago. It's all right there. I mean, they were talking 3-4 years ago, even before Obama was in office. They already had out fiscal year 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12. And each successive year, the space-based weapons funding went through the roof, and it was higher than everything else. That's why they're cutting everything. That's why they're cutting the schools. That's why they're cutting all this other stuff, folks. They're moving everything over towards R&D, because basically the United States has to own the technology for the space-based weapons, and we do at this point. But they want to maintain that, and they want to be able to maintain having a supremacy over that technology over any other country, so that it's a bargaining chip when the banks get ready to call in their loans and get ready to come in and dismantle us and sell us off to the highest bidder like some goddamn, countrywide estate sale. And that's, that's kind of the best way I can wrap it up there. It doesn't paint too much of a good picture, I understand. Anyway, let's continue on here. Let's see what else we had. Oh, this is an interesting article. Another one I had here that was saved from last week I didn't cover. Cave murals in Spain show that man may have used magic mushrooms 6,000 years ago. I got one thing to say about that. Yeah. You think? I mean, look, whether you believe in the idea of extraterrestrials seeding life on Earth, somebody somewhere, whether you believe in God and the white puffy clouds or Jeebus or whatever, so no consequence to me. There are certain plants and herbs and things that were planted on this earth that were intended for us to be able to have a reconnection with spirit, a reconnection with the true self, a reconnection with the thing beyond the ego, the programmed ego of your hardware, which becomes the operating system for the hardware, which is your mind. And to remind us that, yes, we are spiritual beings trapped in these dense material bodies, but there are things that we can experience here that remind us and reconnect us back to that with which we came. The source, if you will. So, come on. You guys got to do better than that. Oh, wow. They used magic mushroom 6,000 years. They found evidence that Moses was fucking tripping DMT on Mount Sinai, for God's sakes. All the available alkaloids were there. He's tripping DMT, goes up. I can't wait for Easter so I can watch fucking the Ten Commandments again, so I can see my favorite part where, Moses is going up on Mount Sinai and you see the fucking mountain and it's like smoking and there's lights and shit coming out of it. I remember being a kid seeing that, going, that's a goddamn UFO. That fucking tell me. This motherfucker went up there, tripped nuts, and channeled a bunch of shit from aliens, came down, and said, oh, fuck, these are crazy. I can't tell these to the Hebrews will never believe me. So he keeps those to the side. Those became what are known as the 7 aphorisms of Summum. And then he says, oh, yeah, well, those dumb Jews, they'll buy into this. So here, let's take on this. Hey, check this shit out. You know, I mean, that's really how it happened. So, yeah, you know, you don't have to convince me of anything when it comes to, yeah. Oh, wow, they did them 6,000 years ago. Yeah, you think? Yes. For all those who thought hallucinogenic drugs took off in the 60s, think again. Scientists believe they have found evidence of magic mushroom use 6,000 years ago. Cave murals found in Spain appear to depict them in religious rituals, which would be the oldest evidence of their use in Europe. The Selva Pascuala cave mural near the town of Villar del Humo was built in the center, but researchers from America and Mexico are focusing on how a row of 13 small mushroom-like objects. Maybe they weren't mushrooms. Maybe they were penises. Or, you know, maybe there was something else even more symbolic than that. You know, I'll drop a picture of this. Now, granted, yeah, I mean, I think an easy explanation of that would be, yeah, those are mushrooms. But, you know, could it be something deeper than that? That's very interesting, though. Brian Akers of the Pasco Hernando Community College in Florida and Gaston Guzman of the Ecological Institute in El Paca, Mexico, say they believe the objects are psilocybe hispanica. Hispanic psilocybin? Mexican shrooms. Just call them what they are. Dude, these are fucking Mexican shrooms, dude. Oh, shit. Dude, are you sure? Just don't drink the water with them, that's all. A local fungi with a hallucinogenic property. Dun, 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 dun. No, not hallucinogens. No, anything but that. Please, no hallucinogens. We might get a little fucking crazy if we have to be on hallucinogens. No, please, God, no. Oh, I'm tripping balls right now. Oh. The mushroom has a bell-shaped cap with a dome and lacks a ring around the stalk. Just like the objects in the 6,000-year-old mural, they say it also has stalks which vary from straight to sinuous, the same as those drawn thousands of years ago. They add in the latest issue of New Scientist magazine. But even though it is several millennia old, it is not thought to be the oldest painting showing hallucinogenic mushrooms. A mural in Algeria that may show psilocybin is 7,000 to 9,000 years old. Yeah, again. But yeah, I don't think those things are here as an accident. I think that anybody who could say that those, you know, naturally occurring plants on this planet are not there to reconnect us with the source that our material existence are designed to keep us detached from. I would say anybody who says that they're not designed for that has never done them. Or has never done any good ones. I think if you've ever experienced any of those things, no matter what you think you believe or how you've been programmed, you'd be hard pressed not to say that you had a reconnection with the source and the source that exists in all things in the universe. But interesting story there. Let's continue on here tonight. NASA to shoot lasers at space junk around Earth to prevent collisions with satellites. Again, you know, on top of this, of what we just talked about a bit ago concerning Japan and concerning the possibility of this being, you know, the nuclear radiation event that they need to go about worldwide nuclear disarmament. I do find it very interesting that they would be rolling out this story in the midst of while, you know, we've got a very apparent event going on that indicates that this is going to be done for the benefit of rolling out space-based weapons. There are people that believe this is going on right now, and it's a direct result of that. And this, space war with space-based weapons is already happening. There was a gentleman who put out a video that had some things in it where it was showing like this triangle-shaped object over Japan, and then it was over Canada today. When you looked at it on Google Earth, it was amazing. And you could see how the jet stream was like pushing, chemtrails were basically pushing what appeared to be the radiation cloud away from the United States and up towards Canada. And I kind of thought when I was looking at it, I was going, that's undoubtedly what it looks like they're doing. And I said, you know what, motherfuckers, I bet, because we know they can do that. That stuff's going to go right across the jet stream, folks. We know they have the technology with chemtrails and with HARP to direct it right over. And it looked like on this video from Google Earth that that's what they were indeed doing. And I said, motherfucker, I bet you that is what they're doing. They're going to get us all fear-mongered about this. Then they're going to tell us it's a threat so they can get everybody scared, and then they'll just direct it with HARP, because what they can't do is they can't just come out and say, well, it didn't hit us because, we use this technology to push it away, because then everybody in the world's going to be, what technology? What technology? Tell us. Well, they don't want to let that genie out of the bottle yet. So the only plausible thing they can do for that fact is to say, well, it was a last-minute miracle or something, because they're saying, oh, well, it's going to hit California Friday for sure now. So I have a feeling that's what's going to happen. A feeling it's going to be, oh, the last minute it was a miracle. Oh, my God. Praise Jeebus. Please, give me another sip of Jesus juice. Get it in here quick. Jeebus saved us from the radiation cloud. Oh, praise Jesus. Good Lord. Yes, praise him. NASA is considering using lasers to deflect space junk around the Earth and stop it colliding with satellites. Lasers similar to those used for welding in car factories would be fired through telescopes to nudge piles of rubble left in orbit. The gentle movement would stop them from taking out communication satellites or hitting the International Space Station. The process could also avoid what is known as Kessler syndrome, where there is too much space junk flying around Earth for it to be safe to fly out, leaving us trapped in our own planet. Such a situation has been predicted by NASA for more than 30 years, and a string of recent near misses has added urgency to the need to find a solution. Now, a team led by NASA space scientist James Mason have claimed that gently moving junk off course could be the answer. The theory is that I love that. We'll just nudge it farther out there into space. I mean, shit. How come somebody didn't think of this already? All we got to do is send lasers up there. Hell. We send lasers up there, we shoot it, we nudge it, just nudge. Make sure you use the word nudge, because it's gentle. And we just nudge it a little farther out into space. I mean, hell. That's like, you guys ever watch Trailer Park Boys before? You ever seen what Ricky does on that show? Every time Ricky is trying to get rid of some garbage or a bunch of beer bottles and shit, instead of taking it out, what he does is he'll take a cooler, like he stole a bunch of meat or shit, and he'll take whatever it is, coolers, trash, and he'll throw it over the other side, over the roof, over the other side of a trailer house onto the other side. And basically for him, that just means it's gone. It's gone that's taking out the trash. Oh, it's gone. Hey, I threw it over the fucking house, man. It's gone. That's what these assholes want to do. Let's just nudge it out into space a little farther. Ain't no big deal. Push it on out there. Eventually it'll float away. Probably get to the sun and burn up. Ain't no biggie. My goodness. Well, I mean, we might as well get out there and throw some duct tape at it too. Hell, while we're at it, shit, can't hurt. Yeah. Fucking high definition piss jugs. Fucking, yeah. He's fucking firing them off around the park and shit. It's ridiculous. Man, let's see what else we have here tonight. Violent Tea Partier arrested at Democratic rally in Houston. A man waving a Tea Party flag was arrested in Houston, Texas, after he charged the microphone at a Democratic rally. And then that's all they say about it. It's so funny. Because, this is the type of mentality they're breeding in people. I'm going to take over the mic and talk about my company, by God. Burr, burr, burr. I'm standing up for the Constitution. Go ahead and stand up for those white aristocratic slave owners, motherfucker. Go right ahead. Yeah, we're right behind you. Get in there. Let's see what else we have. Yeah, it's kind of slim on the news tonight, which actually, is fine with me. Oh, here's the current fear mongering. Have you guys heard this? Scientists project the path of the radiation plume. A United Nations forecast. Dun, 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 dun. Uh-oh. You better wipe, motherfucker. It's the United Nations forecast. Oh, shit. Well, we better start paying attention, huh? A United Nations forecast of the possible movement of the radioactive plume coming from crippled Japanese reactor shows it churning across the Pacific and touching the Aleutian Islands on Thursday before hitting Southern California late Friday. Health and nuclear experts emphasize the radiation in the plume will be diluted as it travels, and at worst would have extremely minor health consequences in the United States, even if hints of it are ultimately detectable. In a similar way, radiation from the Chernobyl disaster in 1986 spread around the globe and reached the west coast of the United States in 10 days. The levels measurable but minuscule. The projection by the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty Organization, an arm of the United Nations in Vienna, gives no information about actual radiation levels, but only shows how a radioactive plume would probably move and disperse. The forecast, calculated Tuesday, is based on patterns of Pacific winds at that time, and the predicted path is likely to change as weather patterns shift. On Sunday, the United Nations Nuclear Regulatory Commission said it expected that no harmful levels of radioactivity would travel from Japan to the United States. Well, again, that's the whole thing. You've got one end saying no, absolutely not. You got one end saying it would be, and it'd be easy in most cases to say, well, oh yeah, absolutely no, it's not going to. It's just fear mongering, and that's the end of it. But in this case, it's very hard to say that. Because there's already been stuff that's come out about them lying about the levels of it. I mean, this thing's such an op. 7 Ways to Sunday. And again, they just want us, you and I, arguing against each other. So again, we're not trying to identify who the real problem is. I mean, my God, we said the same shit in 2009 when swine flu broke out. We said the same shit last year during the Gulf oil disaster. And we're sitting here saying the same shit again about this. I mean, that should tell you folks that all of these things have just been a continuation of the plan. And every day we get up and we're witness to it. And, as Rove said, we can just all we can do is sit back and be spectators. Anyway, that's all the news for tonight. And I think you'll join me in a real big one of these. Fuck the motherfucking news. Yes, fuck the news. So we are going to take a break. And when we come back from this break, we're going to go to emails. We'll see if we have any emails here for you tonight. If you want to get some in during this commercial interlude, globalrealityshow@gmail.com. It's globalrealityshow@gmail.com. And I would be happy to have a topic. If you've got a topic you want to hear me talk about, you got a question, anything else of that nature, I would be happy to address it for you here tonight on the broadcast. So go ahead and send those over during the not commercial, but the music break here. globalrealityshow@gmail.com. All right, back here with you on the Global Reality, right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thank you for being with us here tonight for another late night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. And we are going to be getting back into William Bramley's The Gods of Eden with you here tonight. And we will be, I'm sure, going through this whole chapter. I don't know. I'm not sure how long this chapter is, but we will go through as much of it or all of it we can. If it's short, we'll go through another chapter. We'll just see what happens. How about that? But nonetheless, we'll be jumping into that here tonight. I don't have any more emails to get into tonight, so we'll just jump right into that here in just a bit. So there you go. Let's see. I think there was something else I was going to mention. Another news article or something I thought I had missed. It's of no consequence. But also wanted to mention that next week, that will be March 22nd, next Tuesday. I am scheduled to be on with Lee Rogers on Live Free or Die Radio over at Oracle Broadcasting for 3 hours. I'm sure we'll be doing that commercial free yet again for you. And so thanks everybody over there for letting us do that show. We usually do it once a month. I've been busy. I hadn't been on recently because I've just been busy with everything else. But next Tuesday night, I'm going to be over there with Lee for 3 hours. So make sure you mark that on your calendars and tune in. It's always a good show over there with me and Lee. And we always like to have you all over there listening, participating, and everything else. So, and you can always hang out during the show in my chat room and other people that will be listening in there. And there's a lot of people that always hang out in there and listen to Lee's show when it's on as well. So you can always hang out in there if you don't want to be in. Have a little bit. I police my chat room pretty good, so we have a lot. If you want a hater-free chat room, you can always come and hang out in mine. But if you're a hater, you're going to get fucking banhammered. So be aware. I've just been going around passing them out. Here's a can of troll spray while you're at it. Douche down your area. Trolls are imminent. Fucking trolls, man. What's the only thing worse than a noob? A troll. So we'll be getting into that here in just a bit as well on the show with the William Bramley's Gods of Eden. No more emails. By the way, if you want to support the cause, you want to support what we're doing, we don't have commercials and we don't have advertisements up on the website. We don't have junk to sell you or anything else. Everything here is your own free will. You have your own free will to support us or not support us. It's just whatever you want to do. And the way that we ask you to do it to keep us going is we have the shipping banner there for the bills for the month, and we have the donate button there for any and all other amounts. So if you want to donate larger amounts to the work, to what we're doing so we can get better equipment, that kind of thing. And we have been able to acquire more and more stuff over the past few months, and just trying to get what we can to get going. Because when I first started this, I had equipment that I had for 4 years. I'm still running on a computer I've had over here for 3 years. Lee Rogers helped me get a network computer a few months ago, and that's been great having that. But it all goes there, and we do need your support. So I'm asking people to support us this week. If you can, please do so. There it is. Donate button is there, and the shipping banner is there as well. Thank you so much to everybody who has supported us. We are going to, right now, get into Chapter 5 of William Bramley's The Gods of Eden. Brotherhood of the Snake. I am excited about this because it's something I've talked about many times on the show. Whew. All right, let me take a deep breath. In fact, let me get a little drink here real quick. Oh, you know what? It's interesting. I've actually now that I just looked down. That's funny. I think I just looked down. I just realized I've read this before. I think wherever I was reading it from, probably a website, Biblio Apocalypse or whatever it fucking is, Bible Apocalypse. I don't know what the fuck. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I knew some of this stuff kind of sounded vaguely familiar. I think probably that this was pulled from that because I know for a fact I've read this on the show before. Word for word, I've read this. Yeah. I've read this word for word probably 20 times on my show. Let me go through it. Let me make sure there isn't any things in here that maybe I didn't read. Oh yeah, actually the next two chapters. This one, the Pyramid Builders. Yeah. Well, doggone it, that kind of puts me in a pickle because I know for a fact I've read both of these chapters on air before. In fact, probably in an archive that's probably up. So I'm just kind of indecisive on whether I should go ahead and read those because I've read both. I just scanned them. Yeah, I've read both of those completely. So let's go to the chat room here. Let's go to the chat. What do you guys think? Let me get a vote going on. Should I say fuck it and go ahead and just read it again? Because I have read those. Probably I've already read both those chapters like 4 or 5 times on the air before. Or should I skip those chapters, allow people to go back and find them in the archives and continue on to chapters I haven't read? What do you guys think? The Brotherhood of the Snake one isn't long. But the Pyramid Builders one is kind of long, but it's important info because the Pyramid Builders one is the one that gets into, the navigation, UFO navigation by the by the pyramids and all that stuff. Oh, come on, you guys got to give me at least 1 or 2 more votes. And because now we got a 50-50 in there. We got one that says read it. We got another one that says new stuff. So I need more than 1 vote. What do we got? I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and read the Brotherhood of the Serpent one again, and I'll make a decision of whether I want to read the other one or not, because I actually don't mind reading the Brotherhood of the Serpent one again. We'll just read it. We'll see. How about that? Let's just do it. Let me scroll back up to where it's at, though, because I scrolled all the way down. So I was like, fuck, man, I've read all this shit on air like 10 times before. But here we go. I'll read it again, 11th time. Of all the animals revered in the ancient human societies, none were as prominent or as important as the snake. The snake was the logo of a group which had become very influential in early societies of both hemispheres. The group that was a discipled brotherhood dedicated to the dissemination of spiritual knowledge and the attainment of spiritual freedom. The Brotherhood of the Snake, also known as the Brotherhood of the Serpent, but which I will often refer to simply as the Brotherhood, opposed the enslavement of spiritual beings and, according to Egyptian writings, sought to liberate the human race from the custodial bondage. The Brotherhood also imparted scientific knowledge and encouraged the high aesthetics that existed in many ancient societies. For these and other reasons, the snake had become a venerated symbol to humans and, according to Egyptian and biblical text, an object of custodial hatred. When we look to discover who founded the Brotherhood, Mesopotamian texts point right back to the rebellious god Prince Ea. Ancient Mesopotamian tablets relate that Ea and his father, Anu, possessed profound ethical and spiritual knowledge. This was the same knowledge that was later symbolized as trees in the biblical Adam and Eve story. In fact, the biblical tree symbol came from pre-biblical Mesopotamian works, such as one showing a snake wrapped around the trunk of a tree, identical to later portrayals of the snake in Eden. From the tree in the Mesopotamian depiction hang two pieces of fruit. To the right of the tree is the half-moon symbol of Ea. To the left is the planet symbol of Anu. The drawing indicates that Ea and Anu were associated with the snake and its teachings. This connection is affirmed by other Mesopotamian texts, which described Anu's palace in the heavens as being guarded by a god of the tree of truth and a god of the tree of life. In one instance, Ea reportedly sent a human to be educated in that very knowledge. Adapa, which is an interesting name because it's very close to adept, which is what they call a beginner. The adept is the person who goes to be is a beginner in spiritual teachings or in the Freemasonry or the secret society. So the name of this early man was Adapa, but very interesting. Adapa, thou art going before Anu the king. The road to heaven thou will take. Road to heaven meaning Stargate, by the way. So he's going to allow Adapa, the early man, to go before Anu, who was the king, the father of the Anunnaki, the Anunnaki. They were the princes of Anu the king. The road to heaven thou will take, the Stargate. When to heaven thou hast ascended and has approached the gate of Anu, the bearer of life and the grower of truth at the gate of Anu will be standing. We therefore find Ea designated as the reputed culprit who tried to teach early man, Adam, the way to spiritual freedom. This suggests that Ea intended his creation, Homo sapiens, to be suited for earth labor. But at some point, he changed his mind about using spiritual enslavement as a means. If Ea was a true historical personality, as the Sumerians claimed, then he was the probable leader of the Brotherhood and its founding on Earth. The Brotherhood may have adopted the snake as its logo because Ea's first home on Earth was said to have been constructed by a serpent-infested swampland, which Ea called Snake Marsh. Another possible explanation for the snake logo is offered by Mr. Sitchin, who says that the biblical word snake is Nahash, which comes from the root word Nahish, which means to decipher or to find out. Well, yeah. When you find out what the serpent means, then you find out who's running the show, right? Despite all the reported good intentions, the legendary Ea and early Brotherhood clearly failed to free the human race. Ancient Mesopotamian, Egyptian, and biblical texts relate that the snake was quickly defeated by other custodial factions, The Bible informs us that the serpent in the Garden of Eden was overcome before it was able to complete its mission and give Adam and Eve the fruit from the second tree. Ea, who was also symbolized as a snake, was banished to earth and was extensively villainized by his opponents to ensure that he could never again secure a widespread following among human beings. Ea's title was changed from Prince of Earth to Prince of Darkness. See how they did that? Flipped that around and created that phony devil for you to be scared of? He was then labeled other horrible epithets, including Satan. There you go. There's where that whole thing comes from. That was this was what we're talking about here is when the priest class really took over. This is what they did. When the priest took over the show and started running the game over the people below them that didn't have this knowledge, this is the first thing they did. They called him Satan, the devil, evil incarnate, monarch of hell, lord of vermin, prince of liars, and more. He was portrayed as the mortal enemy of a supreme being and as the keeper of hell. People were taught that his only intentions were to spiritually enslave everyone, that everything bad on earth was caused by him. Humans were encouraged to detect him in all of his future lives or incarnations and to destroy him and his creations whenever he was discovered. All beliefs and practices named after his various appellations, Satanism, devil worship, etc., were to be made so horrific and degrading that no right-thinking person would or should have anything to do with him. Right. Yeah, basing Christianity off paganism and then demonizing paganism, yeah. No, we would never do anything like that in this world, no. He and his followers were to be viewed by human beings with nothing but the utmost loathing. This is not to say that Ea was actually portrayed by ancient Sumerians as a saint. He was described in Mesopotamian texts with distinct character flaws. If Ea was a real person, then he appears to have been a genius who could get things done, but who was often careless about anticipating the consequences of how he went about accomplishing his goals. By engineering a work race, Homo sapiens, Ea wound up giving his enemies a powerful tool of spiritual repression. Ea then appears to have confounded the blunder by founding in or empowering the early Snake Brotherhood, which, after its reported defeat, continued to remain a powerful force in human affairs, but under the domination of the very custodial factions that Ea and the original Brotherhood were said to have opposed. History indicates that the Brotherhood was turned under its new custodial gods into a chilling weapon of spiritual repression and betrayal. Despite the efforts of many sincere humanitarians to bring about the true spiritual reform through the Brotherhood channels all the way up until today. By reportedly creating a work race and the Brotherhood of the Snake, the god Ea helped build a trap for billions of spiritual beings on Earth. As we shall now begin to carefully document, the Brotherhood of the Snake has been the world's most effective tool for preserving mankind's status as a spiritually ignorant creature of toil throughout all of history. I can't agree with that more. During all of that time and continuing today, the Brotherhood and its network of organizations have remained intimately tied to the UFO phenomenon, the corruption of the Brotherhood, and the overwhelming effect it would have on human society was already apparent by 2000 BC in ancient Egypt, the next stop on our journey. So, see, that was a quick chapter. That didn't take us any time to get through. The next chapter is the Pyramid Builders, Chapter 6. And, well, fuck it, man. Let's do it. This is actually pretty cool. This is actually pretty good information. This is some good stuff here on the pyramids and the builders and everything. So, yeah, I'm glad we read it again. You know, I mean, plus I've read it before, and you can go back and listen to my further breakdowns. If you'd like to hear me read that again, some of the older shows had me reading that and sort of doing a slower breakdown and taking more of my time reading it. There I kind of went, right through it fast, but still not much to add there, because that's where years and years of my research have shown me these same things. But I think we're probably in the next chapter going to be iterating on that again. So, fuck it. We've only been going an hour here, so we didn't have a big bunch of news tonight. So we might as well continue on here. So you might want to make another cup of coffee. Hour number 1 of the Global Reality Tonight Moonbat edition is done. We're going to take a break, come back, and then when we get back from this break, we are going to get into Chapter 6, the Pyramid Builders. Let's take a breather. Let's get back into it. All right, back here with you on the Global Reality, right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. A little rush there for you. Roll the bones. We're back here on the show, and we're going to continue on here for you tonight. Reading from William Bramley's Gods of Eden. And I've been enjoying this, and I'm glad that we've had this, to give us some content and give us some different things to think about, some different things to talk about that are just as relevant to the world system and the world order they're trying to bring about as anything else. I got to say, of all the topics that I ever talk about, it's these that get the most attention. It's crazy. We're going to talk about secret societies or talk about this people. It's just always been that way. We used to notice it back when I first started on radio. We'd see the numbers would just shoot up, spike up whenever we'd start talking about those topics. It's nuts. So let's get back into it now, shall we? Chapter number 6 here, the pyramid builders. Perhaps the most impressive and controversial relics to come out of the ancient times are the pyramids of Egypt. The remains of at least 70 to 80 of those structures are scattered all along the Upper Nile region as silent reminders of a once powerful civilization. The largest and most famous Egyptian pyramid is the Pyramid of Cheops, the Great Pyramid. It stands today beside several others on an elevated plateau in Giza, Egypt. The dimensions of this pyramid are impressive. It towers nearly 500 feet high and covers 13 acres of land at its base. Built of stones weighing an average of 21.5 tons each, the entire structure is estimated to weigh 5,273,834 tons. That's remarkable. A characteristic which makes the Great Pyramid one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world is the precision of its construction. The stones of the pyramid were cut so perfectly that a sheet of paper could not be inserted between the blocks in many places. And it's all right there. But I challenge you, and this is one of the things I'm going to do in my life, and I don't know how I'm going to do it, and I don't know what's going to transpire between now and then to get me there to do it, but something is going to happen, and then life is going to work out the way it needs to. And eventually, at some point in my life, I'm going to travel to Egypt. I'm going to go to the Temple of Hathor at Dendera, and I'm going to write a book and possibly make a movie on nothing exclusively except but the Temple of Hathor at Dendera. For the sole reason that there are no books on the Temple of Hathor at Dendera. There are no movies on it. Scant mentions it's fucked up on Ancient Aliens. They fucking show it in the intro. And they never once mention it in the show. You know why they never once mention it in the show? Because it's the smoking gun. That's why they don't mention it. That's why they don't write books about it. That's why they don't talk about it. I've talked about it here a lot on the show. It's the most fascinating thing in all of Egypt, and it gets very little attention, very little play. And that's because what it is and what's inside of it and what is depicted there speaks for itself. It's built to the scale of giants, regular-sized individual humans. There's pictures. There's a picture of this giant column in there, and there's a little man sitting on it, and this man looks like an ant. It's built to the scale of giants. It has giant statues outside of it. It has a zodiac wheel on the roof that predates astrology by like 3,000 years. We have depictions of these energy devices that create physical material bodies with giants working alongside humans and robot-looking things. High-energy technology that could cut stone. It's all there. But they refuse to give us the context and tell us what this means because of the implications of it. This precision, coupled with the enormous bulk of the structure, help account for the pyramid's long life and durability. The pyramid was built to last. Perhaps the greatest mystery surrounding the Great Pyramid was its purpose. Many pyramids are thought to have been burial tombs. History tells us that the Great Pyramid was employed for other purposes as well. For example, some of its inner chambers had been used for mystical and religious rites. Well, isn't that interesting that just a day, again, as we talked about earlier, just a day before the Japanese earthquake, we had this story of North Korea now has a EMP bomb. And then, boom, it's swept under the rug. You don't hear anything about it. Same thing when the riots and all that stuff broke out in Egypt. Just a day before that, we covered it here on the show. The Discovery Channel had come out with an article about these brand new chambers they had found underneath the Great Pyramid they'd never discovered before. And then within 24 hours, you had tanks and gates and everything else around the Great Pyramids. And all chaos kicked off after that. All manner of chaos ensued. Then you had the Zawa steps down. You had the antiquities getting looted. Just happened to be, relating to the same dynasty as the chambers they found in there. Yeah. Could that be what this Japanese thing is too? We've talked about, the energy vortex opening up and how that ties in with, Yemen and the Ark of the Covenant, and then also in Egypt with the Great Pyramids. I mean, you guys have obviously seen that ancient city that's underwater off the coast of Japan, right? And so it just, I don't know. It just made me wonder, made me think about the possibility of some of these ancient civilizations, rising up from the bottom and coming up and being exposed again. And that tying into the exposing or the breaking out of this energy vortex that would bring about an end to their enslavement system on carbon-based fuels. It's definitely something to think about. I don't know. I don't know why that kind of sort of popped in my head. Thinking about that city that is buried there underwater off the coast of Japan. They didn't even know about this thing until very recently in history. But it's obviously it's a step pyramid. It's an underwater buried step pyramid. So I'm just wondering if a lot of these things that are happening around the world are the activation of this. All this earthquake activity happening in Arkansas, just the area where it said that the Atlanteans and pre-Diluvians had gone to acquire crystals for use in their technology. I'm just seeing all these little factoids and these little things. I can't just say, okay, all those are all coincidences. I cannot say that. The more you dig and the more you learn, the more you find out there are no coincidences in any of this stuff. This is all a part of a very intricate plan carried out by billions of people throughout centuries, passed down from one generation to another. The Great Pyramid it says that history tells us the Great Pyramid was employed for other purposes as well. For example, some of the inner chambers had been used for mystical and religious rites, yet a third and infinitely more practical use can also be found. The Great Pyramid is an excellent marker for aerial navigation. Dun, 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 dun. The four sides of the Great Pyramid precisely face the four compass points, north, south, east, and west. The sides are directed so exactly that the widest deviation is only 1/12 of a degree on the east side. In addition, the Great Pyramid is situated less than 5 miles south of the northern 13th parallel. The Great Pyramid can therefore be used as a reference point for sectioning the entire planet into a three-dimensional grid of 30, 60, and 90-degree angles with that of the North Pole, South Pole, equator, and center of the Earth as reference points. That's why they're a goddamn navigation system, folks. There's no denying it. The feature is especially useful because the Great Pyramid is located at the center of the Earth's land masses. Knowing only the dimensions of the Earth and having a method of calculating how far one has traveled can very effectively navigate, especially by air, from the Great Pyramid to any point on Earth using the 30, 60, 90-degree grids and the compass directions indicated by the pyramid. The only deviation comes from the fact that the Earth is not a perfect sphere, but is slightly flattened at the poles and widened at the equator. However, this deviation is so slight, accounting to only 26.7 miles, that it is easily compensated for. Interestingly, when the Great Pyramid was first built, it was even more valuable as an aerial navigation marker than it is today because it had been covered with a casing of fine white limestone. Yeah, so they could see this motherfucker coming in from the sky. Man, there it is. The limestone blocks were carved so precisely that the pyramid looked from a distance as though it had been hewn from a single white rock. The limestone reflected the sun, making the pyramid visible from a much greater distance. The unique characteristics of the pyramids at Giza raise interesting questions about those monuments. Since they serve as an aerial navigation function so well, were they built at least partially for that purpose? If they were, who could have possibly had use for them in 2000 BC? a possible clue to the riddle may lie on the moon. On November 22nd, 1966, the Washington Post ran a front-page headline proclaiming 6 mysterious statuesque shadows photographed on the moon by the orbiter. The Post story, which was picked up later by the Los Angeles Times, described a lunar photograph snapped 2 days earlier by U.S. Space Probe Orbiter 2 as it passed 20 to 30 miles above the moon's surface. The photograph seems to reveal 6 spires arranged in a purposeful geometrical pattern inside a small portion of the Sea of Tranquility. The pointedness of the lunar object shadows indicates that they are all either cone or pyramid shaped. Although the official NASA press release mentioned nothing unusual about the photograph, other people found the picture remarkable. Dr. William Blair of the Boeing Institute of Biotechnology stated, quote, "If the cuspids, the cone-shaped spires, really were the result of some geophysical event, it would be natural to expect to see them distributed at random. As a result, the triangulation would be scalene or irregular, whereas those concerning the lunar object lead to a bacillary system with coordinate X, Y, Z to the right angle, 6 isosceles triangles, and 2 axes consisting of 3 points each." Yeah, the mathematical precision there is pretty undeniable, just like the whole rock wall thing. Oh, no, it's a natural formation. Yeah, but it's mathematically perfect. Oh, it doesn't matter. Yeah, but it's made up of geopolymers of 3 different types of crystals that had to be brought together artificially and made this. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's natural. Yeah, but you said yourself it's never happened anywhere on Earth. Oh, it don't matter. In her Argosy magazine, Soviet space engineer Alexander Abramov went a step further by stating, quote, "The distributor of these lunar objects is similar to the plan of the Egyptian pyramids instructed by the pharaohs Cheops, Cheophran, and Monokura at Giza near Cairo. The centers of the spires of this lunar Abaka are arranged in precisely the same way as the tips of the 3 great pyramids. Assuming Dr. Blair and Abramov have not grievously miscalculated, it appears that some of the pyramids on Earth may be a part of a permanent marking system that extends to more than one planet of our solar system, and the system may even extend to Mars." Well, I mean, think about this. You've got that area that we're talking about here, ancient Mesopotamia, what is now Iraq, which was known in the olden days, the Sumerian days, as Cydonia. Smack dab, baby, right on the 33rd degree parallel. Then you have the area on Mars known as Cydonia, where the alleged face on Mars is located, where these pyramid objects have been located, and boom, it's smack dab on the 33rd degree parallel as well. So what are we supposed to say about that? It's a fact. How can anybody talk their way out of that? Obviously, somebody was, here and there thousands of years ago. The system may even extend to Mars. Pyramid-like objects have been photographed on the Martian surface. Pictures snapped by the U.S. Viking mission in 1976 show the Martian region of Cydonia to contain possible pyramid objects and what appears to be a huge sculpted face nearby staring skyward. It is easy to argue that the Martian pyramids and face are natural formations, and not unlike some found on Earth, however, one and possibly 2 other faces have been discovered elsewhere on Mars with strikingly similar features such as the helmet, cheek notches, and indentation above the right eye. Perhaps equally interesting is the fact that one pyramid in Cydonia has a side pointing due north towards the Martian spin axis. Is this alignment chance, or is there a connection to the Great Pyramid at Giza, which is also aligned according to precise compass directions? It is, of course, possible that the objects on the moon and Mars will prove to be rock formations after all, but available photographs seem inadequate to establish the formations as artificial. If they are artificial, it is clear from the photographs that they have undergone a fair degree of erosion. Only a closer look during future missions to the moon and Mars will resolve the controversy. The objects are certainly worth closer investigation because the moon has hosted UFO phenomena for centuries, including inside the Sea of Tranquility, and that's what they're playing into in the new Transformers movie that's coming out. And the Apollo moon mission, they go black and they go to the Sea of Tranquility. There's a fucking big UFO, transformer crashed over there. Oh yeah. They're just throwing it in our faces now. Even if the Martian or lunar objects prove to be natural formations, that would not change the clearly artificial nature of Earth's pyramids. This compels us to return our focus to the pyramids of Egypt. For whom did the ancient Egyptians say they were building their magnificent structures? Like the ancient Mesopotamians, the early Egyptians claimed to be living under the rule of human-like extraterrestrial gods. The Egyptians wrote that their gods traveled into the heavens in flying boats. These boats were later mythologized to explain the movement of the sun. The gods of Egypt's early period were said to be literal flesh and blood creatures with the same needs for food and shelter as human beings. Actual homes had been built for them. Those homes were furnished with human servants who later became Egypt's first priests. Imagine that. The servants were the closest ones to the magic and all the information that the gods were using. So they, in turn, priests took over the power. Boom, there you go. That's how the mystery religions transferred power from the custodians over to, you know, these people that were humans but still put in charge with the knowledge that the gods had. That's how the whole priest class really started, right there in a nutshell. Their job consisted simply of providing the gods with those things which were formed as the necessities and luxuries of an Egyptian of wealth and rank, and at that time plentiful food and drink, fine clothing, music, and dance. Many people identify ancient Egyptian religion with the worship of animals. This type of veneration was unknown during the early period of the Egyptian civilization. Well, that's because, again, I've said this a million times, but it's absolutely true. We do not, as a people, as a species, have enough examples of the different forms that consciousness as we see it. I believe all things are conscious, but I mean, we're the only creature that walks around and talks and has a language and all this other stuff, blah, blah, blah. They're like us. Well, we don't know that some of these things from other places don't talk and everything like us, but have, but look like, you know, birds or look like snakes or whatever have you. I mean, look at the way DNA works. It doesn't take much to twist a little thing around, and then you have something completely different, you see. I think that's more of what they were talking about in these ancient depictions from Sumeria to Egypt, Babylon, on, Mesopotamia, all together. The hawk, for example, was the sacred animal of the sun god, and such a living hawk might have a place in the temple where he was fed and kindly treated, as any such pet might be, but he was not worshipped, nor was he the object of an elaborate ritual as later. The records of ancient Egypt have given us many clues as to who might have had use for a permanent marking system to navigate various planets of our solar system. The Custodial Society. The first pyramid of Egypt was designed by Imhotep, Prime Minister of Egypt. Imhotep was said to be the son of Egypt's most important custodial god during his day, Ptah. Egyptian lore written after Imhotep's time add that Imhotep received the pyramid design in a plan which descended to him from heaven to the north of Memphis. The Great Pyramids at Giza, which was built several generations later during the age of the pyramids, was constructed according to the methods established by Imhotep. It was during the age of the pyramids, which began around 2760 BC, that worship of the human-like gods reached its height. More than 2,000 gods then existed. It was for their gods that the Egyptians had ultimately built their most important pyramids. The many pyramids built after those at Giza are generally inferior and are viewed as imitations. Some theorists believe that the ancient astronauts of Egypt have used their space-age technology to lift stones and to otherwise assist in the construction of the Giza pyramids. This hypothesis is neither certain nor necessary to sustain the ancient astronaut theory. Egyptian records tend to support the idea that human labor had provided the primary vessel for the pyramid's construction. This would have been in keeping with the Mesopotamian contention that Homo sapiens had been created to be a labor pool for the custodial gods. It is hardly surprising that, well, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. I'll stop right there. I don't agree with that at all. That's bullshit. That's shill factor level stuff where they right there what I just led. I mean, no. It doesn't mean that at all. Just because you're saying that, I mean, it depicts that in the Temple of Hathor, man. You know, I got to disagree with Bramley here. I mean, if you look at the depictions of the Temple of Hathor, they show them using this high energy technology and showing humans how to use it. But that isn't it. So to say that, Well, the Egyptian records show that there was humans that built the pyramids. So, that backs up the idea that humans were created as a slave race. You're mixing two things. No, see that? That's sneaky. This guy must be a lawyer in his spare time, because that was lawyer speak. He tried to take two distinctly different aspects, two different pieces of information, and try to hodgepodge them together in a way that, is slick if you don't know what the hell you're talking about and you're reading this information for the first time, but that's absolutely not true. You can't say just because Egyptian records show, there was some of the human labor. There was human labor used. But the design and the technology that was used by the humans was given to the humans by the gods so the gods could prove to these humans they were indeed gods and had advanced technology. He doesn't seem to want to mention that. That's sneaky. That's why I like reading this stuff, because, I tell you, when you come across the bullshit, sometimes it's, you'll read a bunch and it'll be great and you won't see anything. And then boom, right smack in the middle of it'll be some real blatant disinfo type stuff. But nobody's perfect. It's hardly surprising that the pharaohs and priests who acted on behalf of the gods were often immensely unpopular with the Egyptian people. The Old Kingdom was followed by a period of weakness and unrest. Even the Great Pyramid of Cheops had been broken into by unhappy Egyptians, according to his Egyptian historian Ahmed Fakhari. Such intense loathing is certainly not surprising. In order to get the Great Pyramids built, Egyptian society was made more repressive in order to make human labor operate with greater machine-like efficiency. Occupations became rigid so that it was difficult to move from one type of job to another. Laymen ceased to serve the gods. An impenetrable priesthood was erected instead. Personal happiness and achievement were sacrificed in the name of labor productivity. Feudalism had arrived in Egypt. As the pharaohs were busy helping to make slaves out of their fellow humans, the gods were making fools out of the pharaohs. Imhotep, reputed son of the god Ptah, instituted the concept of the pharaoh as god king. This elitist title was little appreciated by most Egyptians, as god kings. The pharaohs were made to think that they were elevated to the toiling above the toiling of human multitudes. The pharaohs were taught that if they cooperated with custodial plans, they would escape the human predicament by joining the gods in the heavens. There was just one catch. There's always a catch in there. The pharaohs would be allowed to escape Earth only after they had died. Pharaohs were taught the silly idea that if they had their dead bodies carefully preserved, the bodies would be brought back to life and they could join the custodial gods in the heavens. Some pharaohs, like Cheops, also buried large wooden boats near their tombs. According to some scholars, the pharaohs believed that their entombed boats, solar barks, would be magically exhumed and endowed with the same power that caused the boats of the gods to fly. The pharaohs believed that they would be whisked away after death in their magically powered wooden boats to the homes of the gods in the heavens. Although Egyptian preservation techniques were quite good, it is clear that the pharaohs' minds were being filled with nonsense. The wooden solar barks never flew. Few, if any, mummified bodies of the great god kings reached the heavens. Instead, many mummies have become macabre museum curiosities for the titillation of the human multitudes. And the pharaohs so frequently hoped to escape. Yeah, I remember I remember when this was. Maybe it was in the 1960s, maybe it was in the 1970s. But this is absolutely true. You can look this up. Neiman Marcus, the department store, actually were selling real Egyptian mummies in their catalog. I shit you not, man. I shit you not. That's mind-blowing. Look it up. Neiman Marcus, I kid you not, they literally sold you. There was a period of time when you could, call up Neiman Marcus and order yourself a fucking Egyptian mummy. Wouldn't that be something? Honey, call down to Neiman Marcus and order me a pharaoh. Yeah, I'm in the mood for a pharaoh this week. My God. So you're telling me they had so many of these mummies they could just sell them on at Neiman Marcus? That's fucking crazy. But it's absolutely true. You can look it up. I always tell that to people and they crack up. It's absolutely true. Let's continue here. Pulverized mummies also became paint additives because of the preservatives used in the mummification process. Yeah, they just ground some of them up and put them in paint. Fuck them. Oh, man. Sick stuff. The puzzle is why the pharaohs believed the cruel joke which had been perpetrated on them. Some historians suggest that the mummification was an attempt to imitate the life cycle of the butterfly. Others believe that the pharaohs wanted to maintain their wealth and position in their next lifetimes and therefore desired to be resurrected in the same bodies. One UFO writer has suggested that they were striving to duplicate body preservation techniques used by Egyptians' technologically advanced gods. Ancient Egyptian records, however, reveal an even more compelling reason why the pharaohs mummified themselves. Spiritual knowledge had been twisted. Yeah, imagine that. That's as soon as the priests became in rise to power, that's when the spiritual knowledge started to be twisted. Ancient Egyptians believed in a soul or serf as an entity completely separate from the person, meaning the body. Egyptians labeled one such spiritual entity the Ka. The Egyptians believed that the Ka, not the body, was one of these spiritual entities that constituted the true person, and that the body itself had no personality or intelligence without a spiritual entity. This generally enlightened view was given a false twist, however, and the Egyptians... Oh, I hit a button. Did I scroll down? There it is. The Egyptians were made to believe that the spiritual well of the Ka after death depended upon maintaining the Ka in contact with a physical body. Oh, they put that in Star Trek. You guys remember that? When Spock died and he gave Bones his Katra. They call it the Katra in Star Trek. Here it's Ka. That's what it was. You know, his body died, but he damn it, Jim, I've got this Vulcan stuck inside of my head and I can't get him out. Damn it. Give me another drink. According to historian Fakari, the Egyptian wanted his Ka to be able to recognize its body after death and be united with it. For this reason, he felt that it was very important to have his body preserved. This is why the Egyptians mummified their bodies and excelled in embalming them. The pharaohs went even a step further, Mr. Fakari explains. The Egyptians also made statues and placed them in tombs and temples to act as substitutes for the body if it should perish. These practices had a devastating impact on spiritual understanding. They caused people to wrongly equate spiritual wholeness with spiritual attachment to human bodies or to body substitutes. Such teachings encourage humans to accept the custodial intention to permanently join spiritual beings to Homo sapien bodies. The powerful human drives for spiritual integrity and immortality were twisted into an obsessive quest to preserve bodies. Philosophies of materialism were thereby hastened. Materialism, by one of its definitions, is the over-preoccupation with things at the material level and neglecting important aspects of ethical and spiritual existence. This often leads to the second definition of materialism, the belief that everything, including thought and emotion, can be explained entirely by movements and changes in physical matter. Although the Egyptians had not embraced the latter definition as a philosophy of life, they helped move the world a step in that direction. The derailment of spiritual knowledge in Egypt was caused by the corruption of the Brotherhood of the Snake, to which pharaohs and priests belonged. As mentioned earlier, after its reported defeat thousands of years ago by its custodial enemies, the Brotherhood continued to remain dominant in human affairs, but at the cost of becoming a custodial tool. To understand how the corrupted Brotherhood began to distort spiritual truth and perpetuate theological irrationality, we must first look at the early inner workings on the Brotherhood and its method of teaching. Whew. Let me get a breather here real quick. Man, that's a lot. I see. It's kind of interesting because we skipped. We read the Brotherhood of the Snake. Now we've gone to this other chapter. Now he's going back to Brotherhood of the Snake again. That's weird. Let's see. The original uncorrupted Brotherhood engaged in a pragmatic program of spiritual education. The organization's approach was scientific, not mystical or ceremonial. The subject of the spirit was considered to be as knowable as any other science. It seems that the Brotherhood possessed a considerable body of accurate spiritual data, but it had not succeeded in developing a complete route to spiritual freedom prior to its defeat. Brotherhood teachings were arranged as a step-by-step process. Yes, that's where the degrees of the Pythagorean schools came from, the mystery religions, Freemasonry, on and on and on. A student was required to satisfactorily complete one level of instruction before proceeding to the next one. All pupils took oaths of secrecy in which they swore never to reveal the teachings of a level to any person who had not yet graduated up to that level. This style of instruction was designed to ensure that a student did not prematurely attempt difficult spiritual feats or become overwhelmed by advanced level information before he was ready for it. In the same way that one does not take a student driver on a treacherous mountain road before the student successfully navigates easier but increasingly difficult highways first. Imparting spiritual knowledge in this fashion will be effective as long as the levels are ultimately open to everyone. When arbitrary or blanket restrictions are placed on who may have access to the teachings, either through overregulation, elitism, or by setting near impossible conditions for admittance, the system of confidential step-by-step levels changes from an educational tool into an instrument of spiritual repression. The Brotherhood underwent just such a change. That's a profound thing. It's absolutely true. That's how it went from being, okay, as I said, that's what it used to be. When you were at a certain level, your oath wasn't a blood oath, but it was an oath that because you might fuck up somebody else's path, and screw up somebody else's, and we're all on our own separate paths. And because they instilled this thing into you that, you wouldn't interfere with somebody else's path because that's not your place to do so, then you wouldn't reveal to that person what you were learning at the next levels. They would learn it as they came on up. And that was it. That was all the secrecy there was. And they turned it from that into, well, you can only get in if, you come from a rich family, or you can only get in if you're this color or whatever have you. Unbelievable. I mean, this is the core of the elite's power structure, folks. This is how they assumed the power and set it all up. This is the blueprint for how they did it right here. The teachings of the Brotherhood in ancient Egypt were organized into an institution known as the mystery schools. The schools furnished the pharaohs and priests with most of their scientific, moral, and spiritual education. According to Dr. H. Spencer Lewis, founder of the Rosicrucian Order, headquartered in San Jose, California, the first temple built for use by the mystery schools was erected by Pharaoh Cheops. Inside those temple walls, spiritual knowledge underwent the deterioration which caused pharaohs to mummify their bodies and bury wooden boats. According to old Egyptian lore, the distorted teachings of the mystery schools were created by the great teacher Ra, an important custodial god. Yeah, remember the first movie with Kurt Russell, Stargate? That was a great example of that. The mystery schools not only twisted spiritual knowledge, they greatly restricted public access to any theological truth still surviving. Only the pharaohs, priests, and a few others deemed worthy were accepted into the schools. Initiates were required to take solemn vows never to reveal to any outsiders the secret wisdom they were taught. Students were threatened with dire consequences if they broke the vow. These restrictions were reportedly established to prevent misuse of high-level knowledge by those who might degrade the knowledge or use it harmfully. While this is a legitimate reason to develop safeguards, the restrictions imposed by the mystery schools went far beyond simple security. Entire social and occupational groups were denied membership. The vast majority of the human population had no hope for entering the schools. Their access to any surviving spiritual knowledge was therefore severely limited. The biblical revolving sword preventing access to the tree of knowledge was being put in place by those who ran the mystery schools. So we're going to stop it right there for tonight, and we'll pick up there tomorrow on the broadcast. Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in. I want to mention real quick before we end the show here. We're not quite done yet, but I want to mention real quick. I was talking to some folks in the chat room earlier. I was thinking about going to this new. I want to get some of your opinions out there. I priced it tonight. And it's not bad. It basically it's going to cost me $50 up front to get $50 or $60 up front to launch it. And then it's $30 a month after that with the features that you get, which is stuff like, well, it's a new chat room, basically. We'd have an extra 10 of that 30 a month goes to making it SSL encrypted, meaning that all the messages that are sent that go back and forth between people in the chat room are all encrypted. So it would offer another level of privacy. It also would offer us to be able to all make sign-in names. You couldn't just be anonymous coward. You have to make a sign-in name. And if you're up to tomfoolery, you get bumped and all that stuff. But anyway, I wanted to throw it out there to the audience, to our listeners, to our community, and see what you guys thought about it. I mean, like for like $50, I think is what it is to get it launched. You have to pay some initial setup fees, and then it's like $30 a month after that. But this is the time of the month that I pay the stream bill as well. It's due tomorrow, and this would be the time to do, if we were going to do that, get a private chat room like this would be the time to do it, because it'd be good to have that bill coming up every month around this same week. So if you want to support us or something so we can do that, please do so. It's whatever you guys want to do, but I just thought about doing that, and it'd be safer. We wouldn't have the problems we're having now where people's IPs are getting banned and not being able to get in the chat. So people who haven't been able to get in the chat because of their IP stuff wouldn't have that problem anymore. And it would just give us a whole other level of privacy and a whole other level of being able to, build the community and have it the way we want it to be. So there it is. But anyway, the Chip and banner is there for the bills for the month. Please support that. And the donate button is there if you want to donate to the films, to Secret Right 2, to any of the other stuff, and help us grow. Please use the donate button, folks. Support our work if you can, man. We don't have advertising or sponsors, and every little good bit goes right back into the fight. And we thank you so much for supporting us. My name is Josh Reeves. I love...